Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Offerings, the interview and mix series where we focus on creativity in electronic music. My guest today goes by the name Sentient. Hello, Sentient.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? Or Dom.
Yeah, call me Sentient.
So, for those who don't know you, tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
Yep, my name's Dom. I produce electronic music as Sentient, but I do kind of other music as well. I've been producing for about 5 years now, kind of focusing on the darker side of bass, starting in dubstep and kind of expanding faster and slower from there.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I guess, yeah, I mean, my other hobbies, I'm into like video games, as a lot of people are, reading, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much me, man.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I know we're going to talk about the sort of influence of video games, and we're going to talk about the EP as well. Where I wanted to start, which is where I start all these interviews, is talking a little bit about your like earlier experiences in music. So to kick off, can you tell me some of your earliest memories to do with music?
Yeah, for sure. So my parents are both quite into music as well in their own way. My dad's a punk, self-proclaimed. My mum's like kind of like a rocker, metalhead type person. My mum played a bit of piano when she was younger, and my dad kind of plays like punk, electric guitar stuff, which is fun. So I've been around that for.
That's some pretty cool parents, man.
Yeah, they're sick, man. We go to festivals every year and stuff. It's good fun. We go to like Download Festival and have a laugh at Iron Maiden every year and stuff like that, which is quite funny. But they always we've always been listening to music and stuff. I grew up like listening to like I guess like the Ramones and Whitesnake, which are my parents' two favorite bands. Neither of whom I particularly like, but I guess it's like formative, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
But then when I went to school, I started learning the guitar in year 1, I think. So whenever you're 5 or 6, whatever year that is, I started learning classical guitar then and have kind of played guitar since. It's quite interesting coming at it from a classical perspective, because I wanted to learn guitar to play guitar like Green Day. Yeah. And didn't really enjoy it for a long time, but got into it when I was a bit older and realised how nice that side of music is that I'd probably never have heard if I hadn't have learnt that style of playing. So it was beneficial in the end, but it took me a while to come around to it. Yeah. And then I kind of... I'm sorry, go on.
It's weird you say that, because there's so many people, myself included, that kind of like started off at a classical angle. I started off classical guitar. Weird question, did your guitar teacher make you grow out your fingernails?
Yeah, fact. Only on the right hand. Only on the right hand. Yeah. And he had one long and one short. Yeah. And he was
walking around like I don't know,
free
Gollum or something.
Yeah, it wasn't a good look. Yeah, it's hard to justify that to people. Yeah, mine did as well for sure. Did you keep going, or did you stop after a while?
I did it. So I picked it up not that early. I like bounced around a couple of things. Like I bounced around piano. That was the first instrument I learned. And then around about year 8, I think I picked up guitar in secondary school. I had a teacher at the school. And it was a bit funny. Like every now and then as a treat, he let me like learn stuff that wasn't like classicals, like bands or stuff like that. And I think he just like didn't like how... I don't know. He always like made it seem a lot easier, and then was like coming from a superior angle with like classical music. I don't know. Do you relate to that?
Yeah, of course. Definitely the classical teachers hold classical stuff like in high esteem. I remember I must have been like 10 and showing my guitar teacher at the time in Cardiff that like I wanted to learn like a Linkin Park song or something. I remember playing it to him and he was just like, "What is this? Yeah. I'm not even going to go through this with you." Yeah, sort of thing, which is fair, I guess.
Fair enough. Let's talk about your parents, because you got a punk dad, self-proclaimed. I don't know, self-proclaimed.
I'm not sure how punk he actually is. He likes punk music. Okay, I think it's fair to say.
And then your mum, sorry, what did you say?
She's like rock and metal sort of thing.
That's
so she now listens to a lot of the bands I listened to when I was a teenager. So like her favorite bands now is like Slipknot, Bring Me the Horizon, and Enter Shikari. Yeah, which I still don't mind Enter Shikari.
I like a bit of Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah, I don't
like. They had a switch up. around about like 5 years ago or so.
Synthy guy, which is good for them. Like I saw them headline Download last year or the year before, and it was pretty good, to be fair. But sonically, it's a bit too like melodic for me now. So yeah, they're both into it. Neither of them, I will say, neither of them are into electronic music.
Yeah.
At all, really. Like, never been to a rave or club, like just gigs.
Do you reckon you'll get them there one day?
No. I think my mum would probably come to Fabric with me or something if I played Fabric, which I'm not. But my dad, definitely not. My dad hates. He's like, I don't know. Where's the instrument?
Stuck in his ways, sort of.
Yeah. He likes what he likes, which is fair enough. He spent a long time liking it, so
yeah,
I'm not going to change it. But yeah, no, they're not particularly into electronic music. They humour me when I show them stuff, though, which is all that you can really like ask for in it.
Yeah,
they don't have to like it, and they don't.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we can all relate a little bit to that. How do you think like those experiences had an influence on you and sort of where musically or sonically you are now?
I mean, probably the most unique one is doing classical music for so long, because I don't think I ever probably would have checked that out otherwise, which was like very much driven by them. But also, like, you know, I'm a big fan of metal music. I'm a big fan of like hardcore stuff, like the hardcore side of punk. Like, you know, my dad showed me like Biohazard and stuff like that. And me and my mum, like I said, both like the same bands now. So I think from their side, like being able to go and enjoy that at like a young age with them was pretty cool. So like my dad or my mum would take me to go and see these bands when I was like 10. I think my first gig I was 9, and it was Joe Satriani and Steve Vai, who are two amazing electronic guitarists that my dad took me to that I would have just never heard of. So probably like facilitating me to go and listen to the stuff that I liked as well, and like tolerating standing at the back of a gig of a band that they hate while I go and see it. But then I think the thing that's probably had the most effect on my electronic music is the kind of use of, I don't know, like mood building that you get in classical music that you don't get in other music so much, I think, and like the idea of like a linear song where there's no like chorus and stuff like that, which I really love. I write I don't really write my electronic music like that, to be fair, but I write all of my band stuff in a linear format because it's more interesting. I don't know how well it works for like DJ stuff, because you want something that a DJ can actually play. But yeah, I would say that in that way, like facilitating me to go and see my own stuff, just like giving me the roots to go and find subgenres of the music that they were listening to that I liked, and then also forcing me to do the classical stuff and stick at it for so long, because that was, in hindsight, really good, although I didn't appreciate it at the time, as many teenagers
of
don't,
course.
as I'm sure you know.
That's actually a really like unique angle that I suppose like gives you a very unique approach to your own music that other people might not have. So
in dubstep for sure, which is you know, fair. Like they're quite different. But yeah, I think like the way that classical music can make you feel, or makes me feel more than any other genre. Like,
do you still like engage with classical music? Like, do you still play a little bit?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I write still. I write.
Yeah,
I do. I just finished. I released my first album last year, and I've just finished like we're doing like a remixed version of it with a few remixes from other label artists. It was on
in classical.
I've done a classical piano. So I've remixed the album as like a 50-minute ambient piece. So it's like all of the tracks on the album beatless, bassless, and then right at the end I've written a classical piano piece to stick with the end of it. So yeah, I'm still very much into it. Not as much as I should be. Probably a bit of PS5 and a bit of Ableton to blame for that. But when I do engage with it, I do really enjoy it, and it's more satisfying, I think, than producing, because it feels a bit more hands-on. And it's the same. I don't really use plugins. I only use hardware, because I guess we'll get to that. But like, it feels more like I'm doing something with my hands and like engaging with something and like interacting with something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whereas I don't really get that in the same way from like mixing something on Ableton, which is really boring. Yeah, but necessary. So yeah, I do still engage with it for sure.
Nice, man. Let's talk about when you first, because you're coming at producing with like a quite an eclectic parental influences, classical music, sort of that. So talk to me about when you first tried your hand at producing? Like, what was that like?
It was 2019, and I just got my student loan, and I bought Ableton. Hilariously, I was actually trying to make drum and bass at the time for ages. I was trying to rip off like Brethren and Skeptical and those sort of people, like the 1985 minimal drum and bass crew. I was just shit at it. I couldn't make anything that sounded anything like it. And then that was actually about the time I bought my first dubstep. So I'm quite new to the whole thing. Like, I bought my first dubstep record in 2019 as well, which was System 28, which was Left Low, Clue Dub Boa, and Skeptical's Clue Dub remix, which I only bought because I saw Skeptical on it, and I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll try that. Listen to the A side, which was the original. I was like, oh my god, like, what is this? And then I changed the tempo of the stuff I'd been making from 170 to 140. And it just came a lot more naturally to me. I think drum and bass is quite prescriptive, and you have to you have to know about mix downs and sound design and stuff like that, which I definitely didn't know and still don't think I know very well. Yeah. But dubstep, you've got a bit more room for like, I can make a tune that isn't a kick, a snare, and a bass. Do you know what I mean? There's like, if I want to put like a fucking foghorn in there, I can,
it's less structured. It's almost like you're free to sort of go where you're not limited. Yeah, there's less of like a prescriptive sound palette that you would use, whereas drum, like if you listen to an Alex Perez song and you know it's Alex Perez because it's like the same drums and snare, not in a bad way, but like this is drum and bass, which is weird because I've gone full circle now and I'm making very weird drum and bass, so I'm kind of undermining my whole point. But like at the time I very much felt like I couldn't do that, so I dropped the tempo to 140. And then I made a dubstep tune without really listening to it. It was my first tune I ever put on SoundCloud called Lurker. I just kind of like cobbled in a load of stuff and was like, well, I'll listen to it at the end. And it sounded amazing. And I realised that, amazing. I really liked it. And I realised that I hadn't changed the tempo from 120, which is Ableton's default. Oh, okay. And that's how I started making all the down tempo stuff, which I think is probably something I've been doing the longest. Happy accidents. It was literally just like I forgot to change the BPM, and I was listening and I was like, this sounds fucking sick. But I think that came from hardcore music anyway, because it's a classic thing of like, you play the breakdown and then you pause and then you play the breakdown slower and it sounds so much heavier. And I think that's where that came from. But that was all a happy accident. And then from there, so that was 2019, 2020, I guess, and then lockdown. Perfect. Like I think I spent like a year and a half just like making tunes and playing GTA. It was pretty great. That I kind of like got into it at the right time in that sense, because then I was on furlough. Okay. And then had like 6 months to kind of mess around with something that I just got into, which is like the perfect time, so you feel well inspired and into it. And then I bought some like synths, bought some hardware stuff, because like I said, I don't really enjoy plugins. I still don't use plugins. I use Ableton stock plugins almost exclusively, apart from Isotope Trash and Minimal Audio Rift, which I think everyone uses. It's a sick plugin. But apart from that, just stock and then hardware, because I just don't really engage with it very well. You want to be more hands-on. Yeah. And I remember I bought a Korg Volca, the tiny little jam boxes they make that are they're like 6 inches by 4 inches. They're really fun. I bought a Volca New Bass 2, which had like a plasma drive in it, which was crazy. It's really fun. It was like a 303 bass. And then I bought an Innovation Bass Station 2 because of the name, and it was really good. I was going to ask, like, why were you jumping to all this sort of like? What was helping the decision process buying all this hardware? Like, was there anyone like? Because we're going to talk about collaboration in a second. Did you have anyone like in the early days of you're producing that you were like bouncing ideas off and they were sort of like helping you a little bit? No, I didn't have anyone for that. Well, I mean, I have friends that make music, but I mean, you would probably notice a pattern when I say that I bought the Volca New Bass and the Bass Station 2. So I bought 2 things that had bass in the title because I thought that would be good for dubstep. And they were, to be fair. But it was literally just I think I was searching like synth on eBay and sorting price low to high, I think. Because I was still a student, but I was furloughed and I wasn't going out, so I had a bit of spare money. Yeah, of course. Because my job furloughed me, and then obviously like not going out or like traveling anywhere, so we actually had like a decent amount of cash for once. I think I was literally just searched like bass synth on eBay and sorted price low to high and found the Bass Station and the Volca New Bass. I did already have a TR8, the drum machine, which I'd had from before I was making music. I'd had that since like 2016. Because me and my friends Alex and Danny used to go around to each other's houses and have a TR8, bass guitar, keyboard, and just make like the worst music and just get like really drunk and do that. So I'd had the TR8 for a while. That was fun.
But yeah, no, they were all basically bought because they had bass in the name. If I'm being honest, I only had the bass. Yeah. I mean, it did what it said on the tin, which is what I was hoping for.
Sick, man.
So yeah, I've got all sorts of stuff now. I'm definitely more prescribed with what I buy and build now than I was, and I've got I think I've got a really good.
You've got a big modular synth.
I've got a modular that I've been building for 4 years. Actually, the only reason I've got that was I was made redundant from my job, and then I got a new job and got the payout from the old job.
I love how all the boosts to the music sort of pursuits come from something have like furlough.
Yeah. I mean, they've essentially come from like massive bad things happening, but it's ended up working out really well. I'd never be able to afford a modular if that hadn't happened, but it did. So yeah, it's pretty sick, man. That thing, I joke that's sentient, and I'm just the guy that shows it to people, because it definitely does a lot of weird stuff that I probably wouldn't be able to recreate.
Nice, man. I do want to talk about the modular synth. We'll probably get there, but I wanted to talk first about collaboration, because and we had a little chat, and you said that was part of your process, and even in your radio station here, you bring a lot of people on, and you also have lots of collaborations in your releases. So I suppose my first question is, how do you approach collaboration?
It's kind of different every time. I mean, most of the time it's quite arbitrary. So it'll be there'll be someone that I like. I've explained that badly. I rarely start without something to send.
Yeah.
But I also rarely make something to send for the person. So it might be for example, I've got this EP coming out on Dub Colony in the next few weeks. That's a 4-track collaboration with Tunic, and they're 4 quite dance floory dubstep tunes.
Yeah.
I started 3 of the 4 and was a bit it's not really the sort of stuff that I'm very good at making.
Mm-hmm.
So I had these kind of 32 or 64 bar loops that were just not quite there, and I was thinking whose sound would match what I've tried to do here. So in that example, I kind of had songs that I was stuck on, and then thought who's the best person I want to do this, and it's Tunic. And he said yes, luckily, otherwise would have happened. But other times it's more people that I really like I ask, or will be asked, oh, do you want to make a tune together? And it's definitely I need to go through and dig through all of my unfinished projects, which I've been doing a lot more of lately. It's got to the point now where I'm doing a load of collaborations with people. I'm fuck, I need to make some solo stuff.
It's a bit too much.
Everyone's just going to think I'm just leaning on everyone else. So it depends. Sometimes it's a tune I can't finish, and it's I've got someone in mind that would be good for this. Me and Clearlight are working a lot together at the moment as well, because me and him are very much on the same atmospheric, kind of slightly trippy tip. Yeah. But other times it's I love this person's music.
Nice.
I want to make something. Let's try and find something. I went through a stage of being oh, let's make a tune. Have you got anything lying around? Sort of thing, which is obviously quite annoying for the other person, I think. So I've stopped. But yeah, I think there's 2 sides to it as well, in the sense that part of me is I should collaborate with people making weird music like me. But also, I think as long as the music is good that the other person is making, it doesn't really have to fit mood-wise, because that's what I would bring, I guess. So I've got a tune with Delta, who I would say we make quite different versions of dubstep, but the tune's sick. Same with...
I mean, your approach makes a bit more sense to me, the whole a half-baked idea and then figuring out who it might be suitable for, as opposed to the other way around, where you're I want to make a tune with this person, and trying to make music that they could complement. That doesn't make much sense.
Well, I mean, the second bit is basically fanboying, is what it is. So I've tried to stop doing it, because I don't think it's very helpful for the other person, where it's oh, I fucking love you, let's make a tune. Have you got anything? So I've tried to stop doing that, and now I'm trying to do it more where, either someone sends me stems, be would you like to work on this? Or I can't finish something, I'm this person is the right person for this, for sure. But I think it all comes from band stuff anyway. I have the most fun making music with other people, because it should be a collaborative process. It's I've been in band since I was 12, not good, but I've been in band since I was 12. And that's the most fun, where you've got 4 or 5 idiots in a room just fucking around, basically.
But it's expression, right? That's it's music at its, I suppose, purest form.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun. It's the same with anything that isn't your job. It is supposed to be fun, and I think especially with electronic stuff, like it's very easy to get bogged down in like mixing down this 110 channel project because the kick is slightly clipping or something, and it's like really boring, really uninspiring, takes ages.
Your relationship with music can very quickly become quite warped, can't it?
Yeah, it takes all the fun out of it for sure. And then you listen back to a track that you really liked that no one's even heard yet, and you're like, I fucking hate this, I've heard it too long. So I think there's very much like an element of like collaboration being just more, it's more fun. It's not even necessarily like a better end result always.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, this isn't my job. Like I'm hopefully trying to have fun. So that's like the first and foremost part. So yeah, that's why I really enjoy it. And I think often like when you're producing music on your own, it's very easy to be like, yeah, that sounds okay, I think. But like if you're collaborating, there's always that fun moment where you unpack the stems. So someone sends back to you the stems you sent to them, and you listen to it, and you're like, oh my god, okay, I have to raise that. And it's always like
it's almost like a little bit competitive.
Yeah. And then like the tunes, like me and Clearlight have got this EP coming out on DNO, and the last tune I think is 9 minutes long or something. And like, I've never made a 9-minute tune. I don't know if anyone was here the second half, but it doesn't matter. It's sick. And it was such a fun process going back and forth, being like, oh, he's added another 30 seconds. Oh my God. Okay, I'll add another one then. And just seeing where it ends up. So yeah, that's why I collaborate so much. And I think as well, like, it's just, well, yeah, I've already said it. It's just more fun, I think.
Yeah.
Or it can be more fun.
How do you think collaborating with others has had an impact on your own ability and an influence in your own musical output?
It's had the most impact on my mixing skills, for sure. Okay. Like I'm not great at mixing and stuff like that. And more time when you collaborate with someone, like I'll send them a bounce and they'll be like, this kind of sounds a bit whack. You should try doing this, this and this. So I think from that sense, it's really helped learn. It's helped get feedback from someone without sending someone like a tune that they have no interest in and asking for feedback. And then often because they're on it as well, they have like more of an intention to make sure that it sounds good. So they kind of explain things more in depth, which is really useful. But also, I guess, you know, trying new styles, like it's very easy to get stuck in a formula when you're doing electronic stuff, because you can just be like, right, 32 bar intro, 64 bar drop, 32 bar intro. And working with other people can encourage you to break that cycle as well, because you might end up with a song structure that you never thought of, or like a cool drum fill, or just something little that you then kind of take away from it. So it's multifaceted. The most useful one has been the kind of mix down advice that I probably wouldn't have got otherwise, but also just like, you know, like getting sent stems at a different BPM to what I'd normally work at or something.
Do you ever get, sorry to jump in, do you ever get like nervous or apprehensive or a bit?
Not anymore, to be fair. I
people.
definitely did. Like I remember, I think the first collaboration with someone I made where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing that, is with Siva. I don't know if you know him. He's from Denver. He's like an American, really, really good, interesting, unique dubstep-ish producer, but it's like super weird stuff. And I think I messaged him like quite a crap tune. And he was like, yeah, I'm down, I'll have a go, and sent me back this amazing thing. And I was a bit like, oh, fuck. I don't really know what I'm going to add to that. But the tune came out sick. It closed off my second EP on Foundation Audio, and it's still one of my favourite tunes that I've made. And what he added to it was amazing. So I was nervous for that. But I think as well, like, you know.
So it's going to start off with nerves, and over time, the more you do it, the nerves will, like, dissipate, right?
Yeah, and I have to say, like, I'm not going to lie and be like falsely humble. I do like my music now, so like I don't feel as nervous. I think there was probably a point where I was like, I'm not sure if this is very good, and it was probably because it wasn't all very good. Yeah, but I'm confident with what I'm doing now. Like I know that people are into it. I know that I'm into it, which is the main thing actually. Nothing to do with other people. I know that I like it, so then it's hard to feel less.
That's the most important thing.
Confident. Right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's still tunes I think are shit, but like I wouldn't share them with anyone. Do you know what I mean? I think there's stuff that I'm sharing with people I like. So
that's good. There's one more thing on collaboration I wanted to touch on. When we were like having a chat over the phone, you say you like collaborate with yourself a lot. Can you like elaborate on that?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not very good at prescriptive sound design or like intentional sound design. Pretty much all the sounds I've made are like messing around. So and because of that, it's not like if I'm making a tune, I'm like, oh, I need a gnarly like mid bass or something. I can't. Well, maybe I could, but I don't really feel like I could go away and just like smash out a gnarly mid bass in like 5 minutes. So I make myself sample packs, and I don't use other samples apart from percussion. So all of the sounds in all of my tunes are made by me, apart from the drums, basically. But I'll kind of like lock myself in the basement and like jam for 3 hours on the modular or on like some pedals or on a guitar through some pedals or I've got like a Tascam thing, just like scream into the Tascam and make it clip or something, which is pretty funny. And then just like record the whole thing, 3-hour session, save it, go and do something else, come back in like 3 months time, and like it's like unpacking stems from myself.
Yeah.
Then I'll go through and be like, oh, that was cool. You'll get like 30 seconds out of a 3-hour jam, but if you do the 3-hour jams enough, then you get like a lot of decent stuff in the end. So that's in that sense, I always feel like I'm working with myself feels like working with someone else, because I'm unpacking stems in the same way that I would be, and going through and like highlighting the bits that I like, deleting the bits I think are shit, like warping them up. So in that sense, it doesn't like, I can't make things with intent. So it's kind of how I have to work, but I enjoy it because I think there's nothing more fun than just like jamming and making crazy noises without any end goal. And then if you can come back to it and use it for something later, then brilliant. But if not, you've had like 3 hours of really good fun.
I think the end goal as well, like the end goal can sometimes inhibit the process.
Well, it's pressure, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, it's pressure.
It's putting pressure on yourself when you're trying to have fun.
Yeah.
But well, it's putting pressure on yourself and you take the fun bit out of it because there's pressure, actually, I guess. So yeah, for sure.
But I like your approach as well, because I don't know, like, what's the longest period of time before, like, because the thing my mind jumped to is like, it's like you're collaborating with a younger version of yourself. So there never been like a really long period of time, like 4 years ago, where it's almost like you're collaborating with like that moment where you were, like mentally
sure.
or whatever, where you were.
I'm still using stems I recorded in 2019 for sure. I guess less so now, but more because I've used most of the good ones rather than because I don't like what's there. So I've got a really nice laser sound that I use in pretty much all of my tunes. You might not notice it that much because it's super low in the mix and like really EQ'd out and reverbed and stuff. But I've got this really nice like I think the stem's called like Laser Buzzer Mad or something in Ableton, but I recorded that in 2020 off a Korg Volca tiny mini modular thing. It was another one of those Volca 6-inch by 4-inch boxes, and I still go back to that. There's some amazing sounds that come from that thing. So I don't have like a time limit on the stem age. If it sounds good, I'll use it. The only issue is, like I said, I have used a lot of the good stuff from the older stems, but yeah, I've got a tune coming out on LDH that uses a kind of synth lead from 2020. That's coming out like end of this year. Like I said, the laser thing that I use all the time.
Yeah.
Couple of cool mid basses I got off the bass station. So yeah, I work.
Do you ever hear like distinction in your music from periods of time, and you can sort of hear maybe where you were? If you were at a better point in your life or at your worst point in your life, and that's like reflected in the music, can you sort of hear
all my songs are really moody? No. I can hear times where I was trying to make more conventional dubstep, I think, for sure. So that's the only thing that stands out when I was trying to make like I think it took me a while to realise that other people do wobbly dubstep better than me, and that's fine. And like there was definitely a period where I was trying to make like ripping off like I don't know, like trying to rip off like Mr. K or whatever, and it's just not my sound. No disrespect to Mr. K, I really like his music, but I can't do it very well. And there's a million people doing it better than me. So there's definitely a point in time where I was trying to make stuff that I liked listening to, but wasn't my style. But apart from that, not really. Like, I don't know. I don't make electronic music to feel anything other than weird, if that makes sense. So if I want to write something that makes me feel happy or like emotional at all, I'll probably pick up a guitar or a piano, or well, I won't pick up a piano, you know what I mean, or like make some ambient stuff rather than making bass music, which for me has a very specific purpose of like wigging you out in a dark room with a big sound system. So I go to other music for other emotions, I would say.
Nice. Let's talk about your new EP. On K.O. Nay, Blank Aperture EP. First of all, in your own words, can you just tell me a bit about it? Yeah,
for sure. It came about quite out of the blue for me, for sure. So Polygonia Lindsay actually knows Clearlight. Clearlight seems to pop up a lot. And Clearlight had remixed one of my tunes, Cursory. And and I don't know if he had posted it and she'd heard it or he'd sent it to her or something, but she kind of messaged me randomly and was like, oh, hey, I heard your music. I really like it.
Yeah.
Would love to have you on my label. I didn't even know who she was at the time.
Nice. So she reached out to you.
Yeah. I didn't even send any demos, which seems like crazy now. Now, like knowing who she is, but you just get a random message from a person and you're like, oh, nice one, cheers. Yeah. And obviously we got chatting and stuff, and she was kind of like, I'd love to have some of your music on Keone. Hilariously, I only put one dubstep tune on there in the end, and it's like barely dubstep, because I've been releasing. So when she messaged me, it must have been like mid 2023, early 2023. Maybe it's a long time ago. And at that point, I hadn't done any of the stuff with Accept at 170 BPM. I hadn't played Positive Education yet, so I was still very much in the like dubstep is it, and this is what I make thing. So because of that, when I was messaging labels, I was only sending them dubstep. I was mainly making dubstep. Like my laptop's in there, but I must have like 150 songs between 120 and 140 BPM on there of mine or something, which is like, I was just churning them out.
It's good output since 2019.
Yeah, it's stupid, isn't it? Which I think is why I'm a bit like making other stuff for a bit, because I haven't done dubstep, but I've made a lot of it. So it's fun to work at other tempos. And then I kind of listened to the stuff that the label was putting out, and I was like, oh, this actually isn't. I was almost like, why are you asking me this? Like, I make dubstep, But then I listened to it and I was like, actually, I have got a load of other stuff that I've just never sent anyone. So none of the tunes on that EP are the same BPM.
Yeah.
Two of them I didn't think I would ever even bother sending to a label, because I was like, well, who's going to sign that? Because they were quite weird. But it was kind of like before I'd been exposed through Positive Education Festival and Polygonia to this kind of like really weird, really open-minded, really enthusiastic scene, more so in Europe. I mean, maybe it is in the UK as well, but I'm kind of new to it, so I'm not sure. This scene that would pretty much listen to anything if it was good, and interesting, and like if you play like a 170 tune at a dubstep night, people will go for a cigarette. Whereas this is like, you play anything, and if it's interesting, people will like it, which is really cool. So I sent her a few bits and pieces. The first one that got signed, was it? No, it wasn't the first one that got signed. Sorry, I sent like just a load of random stuff over, and a lot of the stuff I'd be making for fun, without like I'd said, I was only sending stuff to dubstep labels, so I hadn't really thought about the possibility of getting any of these signed. So I was trying really different stuff, just like I was doing I'll try start a project at a different BPM each day, or I'll set a rule where it's like no more than 10 tracks on this project, and I ended up making a load of really weird stuff. And she was like, oh, it doesn't have to be dubstep what you send. So I sent like a big playlist of stuff, and she was like, I'll take this and this, and like some of the tunes that she chose, and I was like, what, really?
Yeah.
Like Spiral Realm, which is the closer, is like, it's like 5.5 minutes long, ambient for the most part, pretty much drumless. It just has this weird break that like it's not really rhythmic at all. And she's like, yeah, this is wicked, I'll take it. And I was like, oh wow, okay, that's cool. We did put one quite dance floory one on there, which is a track with me and Carter, who I've collaborated with loads. We've got loads of tunes together. But it was very organic, because I wasn't making anything for it, so it wasn't like I want you to release a dubstep EP, send me your dubstep tunes or whatever, or like, I want you to release an EP, can you make something for me? It was like, well, actually, I've got these things that I've really enjoyed making that I wasn't planning on sending to anyone, but since you're quite open-minded about it, here you are. And she was like, yep,
Amazing. So what period of time from like one of the first tracks to like the latest track, like how much does the time span across all the music, I suppose?
Not that long, maybe like 6 months, I would say.
Okay.
But from finishing it to releasing it was about 18 months.
Yeah.
So I was making them early 2023, early to mid 2023. The last tune I made was the title one, Blank Aperture, which I made in Canada, which was in August, and that was the last one I made. So I was making them for the first year. Yeah. But like I said, because I didn't have any intent for them, I was kind of like setting myself stupid rules for it. So it really was just like what I wanted to do, rather than like making something because I thought it was going to get signed, which is super easy to fall into when you're trying to get as much music out there as possible. Yeah, exactly, which is the most fun. So yeah, it's probably about 6 month period of like I think I had like stuff locked in, so I didn't feel like any pressure to try and get more locked in.
So you say she had a part in sort of like picking the tracks for the EP? Because one of my questions was going to be, do you think there's anything like that binds this music together, like any sort of consistent thread throughout it all, or?
Unintentionally,
like
I think so.
The BPMs span from like 70 to 170 or something like that.
So the slowest is 70 blank aperture, and then the fastest is well, I guess 90 but doubled, so 180. Yeah 180. God, I can't believe I had to think about that. So 70 to 180, so it's quite wide. I think they have quite a similar like sonic palette. Like they're all quite percussive, they're all a bit like rough around the edges, I think. Especially like Repeater and Spiral Realm and Blank Aperture, which have a lot of distortion and noise. And I think as well, like I think I read from a producer called Rob Cluth a while ago. It's really interesting. He's got this amazing album called 0 Point, which is, I'm not even going to try and explain it. It's some sort of quantum mechanics thing that was interesting when I read it, but I'm not going to explain it because I'll explain it wrong. But he did this big piece about like we have pattern-seeking brains. So like if you put like a random sequence of things into a block and repeat it, your brain will learn the pattern because that's how like we've developed intelligence and stuff, by pattern-seeking brains. And it's true for music as well. Like, you can apply like randomness as long as you have something fixed and not random alongside it. And there's a lot of that, like a lot of the audio in a lot of the tunes, especially Spiral Realm, Blank Aperture, and Repeater, which are the less maybe dance floory ones, are just blocks of raw audio. 16 bars, like repeated every 16 bars. Like they're not quantized, they're not in any key, they're atonal, they're probably recorded at a different BPM to what they are, but because they repeat and they have percussive rhythmic elements in the background, it ties it together and like makes you find a pattern that wasn't necessarily there. So I think that's a big part of it. Also atmosphere, of course. I love like a big drone reverb on everything.
I mean, if I can just say, I do really, and I mean this sincerely, I loved the EP.
Thanks, man. And
I think Blank Aperture as well, I want to talk about like the mood and the atmospheres, which they all go into. Like,
that's my favourite one.
They're Blank Aperture especially, but all of them, like almost like unsettling at times, some of the textures and atmospheres. But then in Blank Aperture, you sort of like, you balance this contrast of like these really dense atmospheres, but then like quite sharp percussive elements poking through and stuff like that. Was this sort of like some of the things you were trying to do?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to the claps and stuff, and I know which bit you mean when the distorted mid comes in and there's all those claps and stuff.
And it's like it's like muddy, but then like suddenly focus comes back in like really tastefully, I suppose.
Well, thank you. It was a complete accident. It wasn't intentional. It was almost like I was trying to think, like what have I not tried before? Because I know it's not like a grimy tune, and I'm not trying to say it is, but like definitely the claps are quite grimy, and I've never had a crack at a grime tune. I was just like, instead of just putting a snare on the free, why don't I kind of fuck around with some weird like rim and clap patterns? So I kind of tried that, and I was like, that sounds kind of cool actually. But I just turned them down a bit because they were kind of really button heads with the distorted bass, but. It was basically just like kind of thinking like, what have I not tried? And I'm very much like a kick on one, snare on three person, which is a very easy trap to fall into, especially with dubstep, where suddenly you end up playing a set of that and it's like everyone's bored by like the end of it because it is quite similar. So it was just like, how can I do something that isn't just the lazy like snare on three classic thing? It wasn't necessarily intentionally anything other than something different to what I would have done if I was in a rush.
Well, it resulted in something quite cool.
Thanks, man. That's my favourite tune of it.
I think mine too, you know.
Nice.
What's your relationship with the music now, like, after, like, it's been released?
Well, it's funny because it's really old, which is a bit of an odd, like, that's the longest release window I've ever had, and it was a digital-only EP. Like, there was nothing to do with pressing and stuff. That's just how busy their schedule was, which she told me at the time, and I was like, what? Like normally I finish an EP and they master it and release it, sort of thing was what I was used to. And she was like, oh yeah, this will be out, like, so I must have sent the final pre-masters off August 2023 or September. She was like, yeah, this will be January 25. And I was like, 24? She was like, no, 25. I was like, okay, fine. So I've Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I'd sent them out to a few people, but mainly at the time the people I sent them out to were dubstep people who weren't massively into the other tunes. They've always interesting, I guess, but like, it's not like I was hearing them get played out or playing them out that much because I was mainly playing dubstep, apart from Blank Aperture. But then I think it has shown a lot of other people in other scenes my music, which I'm always grateful for. And I think I really enjoyed being able to kind of not do what I wanted, but like a label to just go like, yeah, do your thing, you know.
Yeah.
We'll sort it out together.
Non-restrictive.
Like, yeah, like send me 4 dubstep tunes. So I'm really proud of it, to be honest. I'm happy with the response I got. I'm happy with how it came out and how it seems like a lot of the kind of like even like techno heads in Europe seem to be kind of enjoying it, which isn't really a scene. Like I would have laughed if you told me that I was going to play like Blitz is like a techno club. I'm playing Blitz in Munich for them, and it's almost like laughable to me that they would book me.
Yeah.
Not in any disrespect to them, but almost as like surely there's like, I don't know, why would you book me sort of thing. So I think it was great to be able to put such a varied and like all-encompassing body of work out on a label that's so open to that, with a crowd that's so open to that. Because like, you know, I've done experimental stuff on labels where people weren't so into it before, or like tried something a bit different, for example. Not like a bad reaction, but people have been like, oh, should have. I would like my first Dub Colony record. I had a fair few messages being like, should have put more dubstep on there. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess so. It's a dubstep label, but I wanted to try something new. And this label and the crowd and the people that have been into it have been like completely receptive of like I said, like people have bought the whole EP. I don't think I would buy an EP with 5 different BPMs. It's like, when would I buy that? And there's like, you know, I would go through and like buy the tunes that fit what I'm playing, but people have like bought on Bandcamp the whole EP, even though none of the tunes are like the same genre, which is crazy.
That's great, man.
Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, I'm proud of it. I'm glad I got to release on that label. I'm still the only dubstep artist and the only person from the UK on that label. So it's mad.
Yeah.
Very grateful, to be honest, and really looking forward to playing this night with them. But yeah, good feelings. I think considering how old the music is, to still feel proud of it is nice. It's very easy to get, but especially when you're like churning them out almost. Not that churn the tunes out. Like when you're constantly making new stuff, it's easy to just get bored of your old stuff. Cause
yeah, of course.
With radio as well, when you're playing it a lot. But I'm not bored of those tunes yet, which is nice.
That's good, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
I want to finish on creative processes, which is where I finish all of his interviews, your personal creative process. So can you walk us through your typical songwriting production approach?
Well, the kind of crap answer is there isn't really one. The things that are always the same is I will always separate my hardware jams and like sitting down trying to make a song. So that's always constant. Apart from that, I mean, it has changed a lot recently. Like probably when I first started, I would try and copy people a lot because I didn't really know what I was doing. So the end result would always be super different anyway. But I think that it got to a point where I was like kind of figured out what I was doing, and I tried to copy someone, and I was like, oh, fuck, I've just like made this song. So it's completely stopped doing that. Now it's kind of like, I don't know, I hear an idea in my head and I'll try and figure that out. Or often I think like I'll make a cool sound on something and be like, oh, okay, I'll earmark that for later. I've got an idea for that or something. But a lot of it is driven now by the sounds that I make in the hardware jams, because like I can hear that could be this or the other. Like, so yeah, it's mainly driven by that. Like I used, although the hardware jams that I do are fun as well, like they are definitely a source of inspiration, because like, well, like I said, it's like getting stems from somebody going, oh, that's sick. And you come back to those things with like a fresh mind later on, and kind of really figure out like a new idea that you might not have had before. So it's pretty much all driven now by either like hearing an idea in my head or hearing a sound that I've made on something and then going, oh, that would be cool. So, but then, yeah, from there, it's quite loose. Like, yeah, sometimes I'll make a tune in a day. Sometimes it'll take me a year. There's no real fixed thing there. I guess the only thing that I have noticed recently is it tends to be like the better tunes are the ones you churn out in a day. If it's taking you a year, it might be because it's not very inspiring. But that's only something you get to recently. Like I've only been able to do that recently. But yeah, there's not really a process. I always give it a vague structure, I guess, is a tip as well. So I don't work in 16 bar loops and stuff. I'll always like make an intro and then make at least like 32 48 bars of actual drop, even if it's just the same idea, because otherwise you just listen to the same 16 bar and you get super bored of it really quickly. So if you have like an intro and a drop and like a little switch to contextualize your idea, it's a lot easier to develop without getting sick of it, I think. And that's something I've realized recently. But yeah, I mean, it's quite loose, to be honest. Like,
nice. I mean, I really like that philosophy and approach. It's almost like you're non-judgmentally allowing the inspiration to come to you, because you don't write at all with intention or anything like that. And I mean, it's keeping your process fulfilled.
Well, for sure. I think I have learned the hard way as well. Like when I was still learning and stuff, like, you know, I'd kind of finish all the ideas that I liked and then sit down and be like, right, I've got to start something good today. And then really force something, not like it, get really annoyed almost at myself for like, oh, you know, it's been 3 months since you last started a good idea.
Yeah.
And now I don't get that so much because I don't force it. And because I don't force it, it comes a lot more naturally. And then when I do sit down and make something, it feels fun still. Yeah. Which is, I mean, the main thing is keeping it fun.
Like your foundational approach is designed for what like works for you.
Yeah.
So you're not trying to force it when it's not working.
Yeah, it's taken a long time to figure out though. Like I said, like this is like a fairly recent thing that I'm able to like churn out a tune or like know when to stop and stuff. Like within the last like 18 months.
Are there any particular moments where you feel like most creative, just like in general? Or anything
not
you
sober.
do to sort
bit of an altered mind state always helps, I think. But apart from that, not particularly like. Yeah, I don't know. I think getting a bit fucked up and making music is always fun. Like that's kind of like the end purpose of it with a lot of club music anyway. So it's can help to like, is this going to spin someone out sort of? But it's not very good advice. I'm not saying to do that. But apart from that, not really. It comes and goes randomly. Like I can be doing fuck all. I can be listening to something. I can be reading a book or something, or looking at a picture. Like it's not necessarily from any one place or from anywhere. It's just like, back of the mind sort of thing.
Nice. Is there anything that you think has a negative impact on your relationship with music? I suppose we've touched on a few things already, to be fair.
I mean, I think the competitiveness of it can be annoying at times. Like, you know, you see someone else doing well and it's important to like remember that like things come to everyone as long as what they're doing is good in theory, and it's okay if it all doesn't happen at once. But I think that's more of like a social media thing than a music thing, isn't it? Music-wise, yeah, I hate mix downs. I hate doing pre-masters. I hate all of that stuff. I haven't got a trained ear for it. My hearing's not very good anyway. Playing the drums, like, it's killer. So that stuff I find really frustrating. Like, I sent a dub out to a load of people the other day. Got a load of replies being like, "This is sick," and someone was like, "This mix down's whack, man." And I was like, oh, "Mate, I've sent you the master. Like, I can't do anything about that now. I've already sent it to like 50 people." But I get, it's just something I need to work on really. So it's not like, I mean, it's not a negative relationship. It's just like something I know I need to improve. But it's not always very fun, I would say.
I mean, that's with everything though, isn't it? There's always some aspect of the thing that you love. A small little pizza slice that's anchovies.
Yeah, exactly. But I think as well, like, you know, that's also fine. It's, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, you can learn new things or you can get help. It's not like you have to do it by yourself and then like get really annoyed. Like,
no, I completely
build
agree.
People that you can share, that ask for advice from, or pay to mix stuff for you.
Yeah,
that's a joke. But get people around you that you can ask for advice or like feedback from that isn't like biased. Is a good way to get around that, I think. But that's the main thing I don't enjoy for sure.
I'm going to finish on this one.
Yeah.
For yourself personally, what's the most important thing when it comes to making music?
Fun, for sure. Like it's. I never expected it to go anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, I bought Ableton because we were in lockdown. And even I think this was probably the first. I think the first vaguely like significant thing that I was like, oh right, I was probably getting on Mode actually, because I think that was probably before I'd even released a song. It was like 5 years ago now. And I remember being like, oh okay, that's.
You've been at Mode 5 years.
Yeah, I've been here for ages. I've been here since 2020, I think, long time. I remember first got it, my USB didn't work for like half an hour. My first show. I bought a SanDisk 3.0
it's
after
all
that.
a rite of passage, isn't it?
Yeah, no other way. I remember plugging my USB in and just being like, oh, nothing. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing was supposed to be fun, you know, and it still is fun, but like I never expected anything to happen from it, so I can't really believe that anything has. Like everything that's happened has been fairly surprising.
Yeah,
I would say. So yeah, who knew? I didn't.
Listen, dude, it's been really interesting getting inside your brain.
Thanks for having me.
Hearing about your approach and your philosophy to making music. Yeah, really, really grateful like you spare the time. Before we jump into the mix, have you got anything like you like to plug? Anything coming up?
Yeah, I'll plug a couple of releases and a couple of gigs for anyone that's around. So I've got two. I haven't spoken so much about collaborations. I've got 2 full collaborative 12 inches coming out. I've got one with Tunic from North Carolina coming out on Dub Colony, which is for like dancefloor dubstep smashers on a lovely like blue and black splatter vinyl. That should be releasing March 31st. I've got 4 kind of experimental drum and bass speed techno-ish tracks with Clearlight coming out in DNO.
Yeah.
We've announced the clips, but I think pre-order should be in the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting on the test presses for that. And then a couple of digital things I'll announce later in the year. They're a bit down the line at the moment. And gigs-wise, you can catch me with Polygonia and Vade doing a 3-hour set each, extended set at Blitz Club Munich on March 29th. I'll be at The Mine on April the 5th with The Untouchables, Ela Brugel, and some other people. I'm not looking at the poster, I can't remember. And then May the 23rd, I'm doing an extended live set in Ghent. I can't remember the lineup for that either, but I think Bambi's playing. It should be good.
Nice, man.
Yeah, it should be wicked. I'm looking forward to all of them. I'll be doing a 90-minute live set, which I've never done before, so come to that if you're in Ghent, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Something later in the year, but I'm waiting for confirmation, so I won't say it on the radio yet.
Wicked, man. And also, if you did want to check out the Blank Aperture EP, that's out on Keone.
Yeah, I should have plugged that, shouldn't I?
No. I think I introduced it as your EP instead of like the Blank Aperture EP.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's out also now, so go check that out. Up next, we got Sentient.
watch it on LinkedIn. the pressure in my head. Now I got to kill again.
them vibrations. Vibration.
ma, 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 ma.